Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another fabulous edition to the NXT 2.0 post show. I am the Jameis, joined, as always, by the incomparable, to say the least, Throwback. Throwback, how you doing, man?
What's good, man? How you doing? Getting all prepped up for baby time. So
Congratulations.
Yeah, we are literally T-minus 30 days and counting till my son arrives.
That's
And
exciting.
hopefully you'll hear him crying a few times during the NXT post show when I'm on leave. So that'll be fun hearing an infant crying. But it'll be worth it.
Yes, sir. I asked you how you doing, Patrick, and you immediately went, "How are you doing?" And I'm just like, why do we even attempt to exchange pleasantries?
Well, we're friends. Why not? I mean, we did the show on a Wednesday, which I absolutely liked because it was more mellow instead of going straight into it.
Yeah, it gave us time to
Digest everything a lot more efficiently to give you guys the best review.
let me
It,
pull up results real quick. But I do know what we're starting off with. The show opened. I have a question. Why do people keep going into the NXT parking lot?
I don't know, but it always seems like a thing where they set it up and like there's random people walking through and they're trying to do something, at the performance center, and it's just like there's a random person getting hit by a car. Oh, there's Johnny Gargano. It's like
Or there's some we just never found out who attacked them.
pretty much.
Penta, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, it's like randomness in its finest.
Anyway, we opened in the parking lot the brand new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions as of last week. If you didn't watch our Great American Bash post show, be sure to check that out on all the Body Slam socials, preferably YouTube. But regardless, either way, we have new tag team champions, Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. And at the start of the show, Roxy, who was supposed to challenge for Mandy Rose's NXT Women's Championship tonight, was found motionless on the ground in the parking lot of the NXT Performance Center. And the debate throughout the show was who attacked her. I actually said on Twitter at the start of the show when I saw Roxy on the pavement that I thought Cora Jade was the obvious answer. I said something last week, and y'all can go back and double check this. Last week I said that I thought that this tag championship reign would lead to a future program between the two. I did not think it would be this quick, though I did foresee that as the obvious en route. So Roxanne Perez is attacked. We don't know what her condition is throughout the show, but Cora Jade does a promo later in the night that confirmed my suspicions that it was her when she cuts a promo, all smiles, talks really fast, a little anxious, but there's no emotion in terms of my best friend just got attacked. What should I do? Like, what somebody who.
Oh my God!
Right?
My friend's hurt. What should I do? Oh my God! It's like, come on! You can't sell this thing.
But Cora Jade didn't even pretend to be distraught about it. Like, she was all smiles during the beginning of the promo until the last sentence where she said,
I'm
put the
I'm
blame
gonna
on
say
Dr.
this. I'm
Jackal.
gonna say this at the end of the night, though, because we'll talk about that. I couldn't stop laughing. I literally couldn't stop laughing at the end of the show.
But so that confirmed it for me. And in the main event, we'll start with that because
Oh,
it was by
then go
far
right to it because I just want to start laughing
the
about the
most
whole
high
freaking end of
profile
it.
part of the program tonight. Cora Jade comes out and says, I'll take the title shot because Roxanne can't compete, which there's your motive right there. She's upset her tag partner won the Futures tournament and got the title shot she wanted, so she takes her out so she can step in and take it in. Roxanne Perez comes out, has a great performance as an underdog hurt, and then Cora Jade snaps, cost her the match. And I tweeted out when Cora Jade came out and Roxy came out that this was going to be a device to further the bitterness of Cora Jade. I thought that was obvious just in the way they mapped it out.
I gotta say this. This is comedy in its act. You're freaking trying to hit the person with something, and when you're halfway up, going up, it goes out of the way. Like literally, if you hold a baseball bat, you're not just supposed to swing it halfway, and all of a sudden, whoop!
It's like every once in a while with
I couldn't believe it.
It's like when Roger Clemens got pissed off one time at Mike Piazza. So Roger Clemens, instead of playing the ball that's hit right back at him, he picks up the bat that was sawed off and throws it at Mike Piazza.
Yeah. It's like, oh my God. And all of a sudden she's just like halfway up and looks at it and just appears like, come on. You can't stop laughing. Like the thing goes halfway up and whoop. It's like, it's comical. It's like, that whole thing is not supposed to break when you're going halfway up. It's like a bent chair. It's literally like incompacted right there before the impact. Come on. Oh, better yet, a kendo stick that goes halfway bent when you're going down and you're like, what the hell? This has got like a long punchline. Be like, yeah, you know, that's what she said kind of punchline. But that's neither here. But the funny part about this is that you could literally say, well, that board was a little limp anyway. So, it's just, it's one of those things where you cannot set this up so perfectly to make it more comical.
Because
at
the
the
setup
end of the show.
is executed very well.
Yeah. But I'm talking about literally like right after the camera looks at Cora Jade and stuff and she comes up and she's holding that thing. You knew at some point that freaking thing that she's supposed to glide on with, eventually if it's used as a weapon, it'll go, whoop. I've got so much things I'm not going to toss anyway. I've got a bunny cage behind me. So, I mean, it's just so freaking comical. It's literally like, one potato, two potato, all potato. And all of a sudden she gets that board halfway and the thing just breaks apart. It's like, and she's sitting there looking at it and like, I hate you. I'm like, I couldn't stop laughing in my head because like I kind of can't laugh out loud right now because of, people sleeping. But I couldn't stop laughing in my head because it's like, oh my God, that is something that you want to see on NXT, not because it's good product. It's just one of those things you're just like, oh my God, they screwed up so royally.
So, all of that aside,
he's trying not to keep a straight face because I'm right. You were right about the double turn. I was right on this. I will take my victory rap and
one of us, we're less than 10 minutes into the show. One of us has already made a Roger Clemens reference, and it's not the person wearing a Boston Red Sox ball cap.
That is true.
I think that's the funniest thing about this show so far. Who saw that?
It was more like since Red Sox Yankees, it was more like. I
was just thinking Roger Clemens.
Pedro
came up.
It was like that Pedro incident where Pedro just basically took
Don Zimmer.
Yeah.
Threw him?
Yeah. It was like that. We could go all night and make fun of this. This is going to be a meme for a while. I mean, come on, let's be real. Hell, I will literally say this. If we keep just playing this as an intro, just like everything falling apart and then Body Slam comes out, dude, that is money. But I'm just telling you, I cannot think about how many props they could have done and just use a skateboard. A little baby skateboard that big, and literally one little swing, and the whole thing just comes apart, brittle like freaking brittle pound cake, or freaking whatever it is, freaking rice cakes or something. Literally, or foam confetti. Literally, it just was so brittle and without even being moved. Like, I liked how the ending of the match happened with the pop rocks on the outside. I like how they set up towards the ending. But what also got me on the bad side of that is that Cora was like, come on, 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 come on. It was like reminding me of the inflatable arm tube man guy. Where like, oh, come on, I have tomorrow off. I'm a little bit over caffeinated.
I can tell. Fortunately for me, I have ADHD and I drink nothing but caffeine anyway, so caffeine goes right through me.
Yeah, but the problem is that it just it led to the most, we have to admit, the most funniest moment recently on NXT, because you have to think, is something supposed to be that solid, a skateboard to hold a human being's weight in
It was
motion?
also probably gimmick so it'd break when it hit her later.
But the thing is that it didn't hit later, it hit early. It literally was like, let's just use it in sports terms, right? If that was a curveball, the curveball was right here and it broke right here.
Vlad Guerrero would still hit it.
If here, right? And Cora J tried to lift it, it would have broke all the way back here. It literally fell apart as soon as she started lifting it up, and it basically torn apart. Like,
first
oh
match
my
of the night.
god, they did amazing work on the build-up. You're right, but the thing about it is that was just you come on.
I've been trying to segue into Apollo Crews and Da Vinci, whatever, Fabian Aichner for like 3 minutes now.
Oh god.
We've talked about a bunch of non-wrestling athletes already. So let's talk about some wrestling athletes. Very athletic contest between Apollo Crews and Giovanni Vinci, the former Fabian Aichner. Fun little opening match. I would have liked to have seen a little more build-up and it be on a more highlighted pedestal. But this was a big win for Vinci early on in repackaging him.
Plus, it makes him look a lot stronger because Paulo is a former IC and US champion. So it looks better when you're repackaging someone to be something bigger than they can be. And, Aichner in this role as Da Vinci, it could be a possibility where he could be, if Breaker or Hayes at some point have the title, be his next huge opponent if a lot of the talent's already moving up.
And Fabian Aichner is a great worker, great base, great footwork, just great athletic guy. Even in some areas, his psychology may lack sometimes. That can come in time. You can teach that. You can't necessarily teach some of the things he can do. The modified powerbomb body slam he did at the end of the match looked really sick.
Yeah, there's a lot of good moves in the show today. Just a lot of good, innovative, throw them out there, see if they stick kind of moves.
And at the end of the match, Zion Quinn was revealed to be the mystery man in the crowd that had been kind of getting involved in the background throughout. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes from here.
Hey, Zion Quinn, there's a lot of things they could do with him. They just have to do it right. If they really wanted to, they could probably have him, as much as Solo Sikoa's completely different family bloodline. They could probably just try to innovate something of a Polynesian like mafia or something like that to go against the family.
I don't like that. I think it's.
I know a lot of people don't like that, but our boy freaking Bad Blood loves that stuff.
I love BJ to death. Shout out to BJ. He does a great job on all of our other weekly post shows. Him, Shane, Julie, and the entire Pro Roundtable crew do a terrific job. Be sure to give them a follow. Be sure to give them a listen every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Body Slam's YouTube channel. Bad Blood's my guy. In a lot of ways, is very more traditional type of wrestling fan. And some of that just doesn't work well in the modern climate. That seems like a very 80s NWA thing to do. And some things you just can't integrate into the modern era for one reason or another where we're at in the world today.
It could work. It just has to be played and done right.
It has to be very meticulously done, and I don't trust them
Yeah,
to do it right.
and they started doing that with Del Fantasma, well, Elgato Del Fantasma in the quote unquote family. D'Angelo and freaking Dice, whatever his name is, Shaggy
Who
Two Dice.
does?
It literally, it's like that way they're setting that up. It's going to work pretty decently until they bring Escobar back at some point. But I literally think if they are going to build another faction in order to go against the four of them, they have to do something different.
And then next, Cameron Grimes had a really good somber promo about life, stuff like that, and before being interrupted by JD McDonough, the former Jordan Devlin, for those who don't know. I thought this was a nice little segment. I still think Grimes should have won last week, but
I agree.
alas, I'm not booking, and this is what we've got. So, what Grimes, the content of Grimes' promo about sometimes you can do everything right and you
Still
still
be
can't
wrong.
get it done is great. It's nuanced. I like the dimension and element it adds to his character going forward. And I think a match with Jordan Devlin, which he's going to lose because Jordan Devlin's set up for the next title contender and needs to establish himself stateside anyway, is going to be a really fun match. I think they match up well, and it gives him something to do and Devlin a big win to build him for Braun Breaker.
Honestly, I think the opposite. I think this is going to end up in a DQ when they do come back to it next week, because I think with Grimes and way they're portraying Breaker as he'll take everybody on, kind of like that Goldberg mentality where it's like, okay, I'll do whatever it takes. I got
So
that
it sets up a
physicality of it.
triple threat match, so Breaker doesn't have to take the fall. Is that where
Yes.
you're going with it?
Yes, and
All
they
right.
they want to end up doing something. And Grimes, I don't think if they do that triple threat though, I don't think you give Grimes the pinfall. I think you give Devlin after he sets him up with the no DQ, and then Devlin beats Breaker in a one-on-one, and then you have it set up like that. I think Devlin takes the pin, but I think it's Grimes' moment, because that could lead into, like Grimes said, about Breaker going up in SummerSlam, for example, but it would be a different higher end pay-per-view where he would pop up. And the only bigger after SummerSlam is in Boston, kind of have to put that out there,
You and your Boston.
SummerSlam in Boston, man, kind of. Hey, I get to go to ROH in 2 weeks. I'm stoked about that.
Oh, I'm stoked for you. Of course, I will be hosting our ROH Death Before Dishonor post show on July 23rd here on all Body Slam networks. Be sure to check that out. You can also check out our Code of Honor podcast. Kyle Sparks and Kylie Fuller do a terrific job every week. Their producer's okay, but
I know this much, and I will talk off air, is that I'm going to be, when I'm there, I'm going to be tweeting out not the results of the matches, but I will be reading every big thing that I see that happens during everything. I will be on Twitter tweeting out. And what I say, it goes on my Wicked Crazy Pinfalls side of things, because what I have opinions of in wrestling does not coincide with Body Slam's opinions at
we'll
times.
share it anyway. I make sure to go and share most of what our writers tweet out wrestling related.
Yeah, so
I mean, tweet everything I tweet out because I know I agree with that.
So I mean, for me, like I'll say what's going on, but I'm not going to spoil people that are watching on TV, because live there's a few seconds delay. So I could tweet something and say Samoa Joe wins the title, and then all of a sudden you see it 5 seconds later, and I get these tweets saying I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, kind of stuff.
You'll get those tweets regardless, Patrick. Don't worry about it.
People say I'm the most positive person on Twitter, which is kind of shocking,
It's Twitter. It's a cesspool of negativity.
Yeah, I guess I'm the shining light out of Massachusetts, where our nicknames are called massholes.
Yeah, there are two things I like from Massachusetts, and I don't think either are actually from Massachusetts. One, Wade Boggs. He's from Tampa, but he played for the Red Sox.
Well, the other thing is he was also in the longest game in MLB history. So in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, which now their team's in Worcester now.
and of course Boston Market.
Boston Market's not from Boston. It's just
I
a
know.
name.
That's why I said I don't think either are from Massachusetts.
No. Wade Boggs is actually technically from Massachusetts, considering he was drafted by the Red Sox. That's a different story. But we
Patrick,
digress.
Where am I from?
Yeah, I know you're from Tampa, dude. Don't worry about it.
Where has Wade Boggs lived ever for like 40 years?
40 years. Probably he's in Tampa, but I'm talking about draft wise, professionally, where he started most of his career, and he went into the Hall of Fame with. But back to the train we're talking about right now. Just kind of like we're little minions running around. The thing is that with Grimes, and they do this setup right, this could give Grimes the chance to hold the title for a while until they get Hayes ready, and they can run back that Hayes,
there's a story
Grimes feud, and because there's a story there compared to having, Jordan Devlin going against Hayes or something like that. I think there's a lot of meat on there, but let's see how they play it out. I think, if you're going to bring Breakker up, I think Survivor Series is the right fit.
And
kind of like a Daniel Bryan's.
But that's just me. I'm not the one making those decisions.
Yeah, exactly. And you know how WWE does. I think he would be in that Daniel Bryan mystery Survivor Series partner kind of match where, Cena
had 2010 when Bryan had been cut. He worked that weekend with somebody people might have heard of, WWE and AEW World Champion, current AEW World Champion, Jon Moxley. He worked with Jon Moxley the night before that show.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that they could pull that same thing again and have Breakker as a mystery partner for something. I think out of the whole show tonight, I think the one that I've said to you is that that gravitated to me. There was two things other than the women's match was I hate to say this, Von Wagner versus Sola Sikoa, and it's not because of Von Wagner.
Well, Von Wagner's a stupid name anyway.
Well, I'm talking about
I can't say it with a straight face. Just call him Cal Bloom.
But the thing is that I can't, when Von Wagner's on the screen, aka Cal Bloom, I can't. My attention span goes away. But when I listen to Sikoa, it's not that he's like Roman or his
I may notice that too. I feel like the only one who doesn't want him in the bloodline, because one thing I noticed tonight is he believes in his material. He sounds authentic. There's a presence there. And I don't want to stifle him by putting him in a faction with 4 people who can talk really well, and then him not getting any mic time because there's a lot to work with there.
And the thing about it is he's got a lot of work ahead of him.
Of course.
I think that if people are gravitating towards someone, you have something there. And right now, for me at least, because I held, like I kept saying over and over on the show, I have the responsibility to hold, a judgment on Breakker. Well, my judgment right now, I can make it clear because I have a good meter size. Breakker's, as much as Breakker's a young kid and a young person and everything, and he has the pedigree for it. I'm sorry, everybody. You could doubt me on Twitter for this. He is Goldberg. He's a young Goldberg. That whole physicality, rough, run them over and pull them over.
But he's not a good worker. He's explosive and it comes across well on TV, but his fundamentals aren't good at all.
No, and Goldberg was the same way in the start. I think honestly is that if there's a certain star on this roster as of now, that's not main roster, former main roster. That includes Mandy, that includes Apollo, that includes anybody that hasn't been on the main roster for a short time and stuff like that. JD Devlin, no, he's not counted in this too because he was in the UK side of it and everything. I honestly can gravitate to only two people on the men's side, and that is Carmelo Hayes. Sorry, that's a homer pick, but still it is. And Solo Sikoa, because
Cameron
those are the
Grimes.
ones that gravitate my attention when it comes to the men's division. Now, Hayes, I have a lot of affinity towards because there is a lot of Massachusetts-based stuff because he's around here. He's from here. He was in a lot of promotions like Chaotic Wrestling and Limitless Wrestling up towards Maine. Like John Alba was off and on a
I
part
know
of.
what limit this is.
Yeah, so it's for me. I gravitate to what he says and how he speaks and stuff like that because it sounds close to where we're from and stuff. So I gravitate to honestly in that. Sikoa is just the passion behind it, the gut. It like the promo he's like, I'm ready for this. Let's do this. And like, I'm coming for a fight. And if you pick on me, I'm going to get you down harder. And you could feel that. And it translates now into TV. When 2.0 started and they had him out and they said he was supposed to be a Samoan Street Fighter kind of thing and he was doing it on his own, he
didn't
didn't
believe
say
in the
much.
material.
And then he didn't say much, and now he believes it, and so much it comes out and exudes it. Just like Hayes, when he had his first North American champion, he kept saying he was the A champion, and everybody believes in that. If it comes across here, it comes across here. And as much as Breaker does come across passionate with all this stuff and everything, and that's the difference. His charisma is a little better than Goldberg and stuff, but in the intensity and stuff. But I hate to say this, but I think Hayes and Sikoa.
Braun Breaker's not done a single program other than Cameron Grimes. I know for a fact that was Cameron Grimes that has gotten me interested at all. There's a reason until I had to hop on this show regularly that I didn't watch NXT because the guys at the top of the card did not interest me.
The only person other than those two that made me gravitate towards it just because of how physical and how passionate he is was Nathan Frazier, and he's now injured right now as it is. And
there's people I like, and we'll get to one of them later. Next match on the card, because I do think we should kind of move on because we
keep going.
A little bit of time on this. Kaden Carter and Tayden Paxley. Kaden Carter's awesome. I hope they start using her more because there's a lot of really cool stuff. I believe I messaged you when
they came up with that kind
Lacey
of
Lane did Kaden Carter did a Twisted Indian Deathlock, which looked really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting how that all played out. To the whole where basically she stood up and it basically twisted down into a submission, and then Paxley got it out.
Yeah, that finish was kind of abrupt, but the Twisted Indian Deathlock looked really cool.
There's certain things they could pull out, both of them. That I hate calling her Katana. I really do. Catanzaro can do, and Kaden can do. It's so much they could do, and it's just sad that they're not being utilized fully to what they need to be.
Tatum Paxley won the match, left with Ivy Nile. Not much there. Duke Hudson, then Russell Tsonga, and a match that certainly was a match on the show.
Oh, Tsonga! Oh my God! For pound, this guy if he ever goes against Almost, oh my God, can you imagine the match? Just
I
how
don't want
physical
to.
that would be. I know, but can you just see how Sangha carrying Almost and how physical both of them can be? I mean, I want it on this whole thing. I don't want to see Sangha and Sikoa. I want to see Sangha against somebody that gives him a lot of degree of difficult, because they put Duke Hudson right here, and
This is
that wasn't that he went basically right through him for the most
this
part.
was this is the issue with having one Haas on the roster, other than Braun Breaker. Um, like AEW had this issue when they started, where they only had like three guys. Now they have a bunch of them, and they can. It allows you to do more with your roster. NXT needs more than one big man, or it just doesn't make sense to have a big man.
I think they look Hudson as a big man, and I think Wagner, but they're not really filling that spot out. And Sangha is holding court, so who is going to be his major opponent? There's not really that much you can build up unless there's behind the
I
scenes
don't think
stuff.
there's any way they can make me care about Sangha anyway.
They for me they have. I mean, the opening for Great American Bash was fun, that they were replaying it and stuff like that. That they're showing his certain sides of his personality, instead of being like, twiddling the mustache and being like the ladies' man kind of thing with every time he has a woman next to him and stuff. I think that whole thing about the cannonball and stuff, it gave him like more depth, but it's a work in progress like everything else, but it made it a little more interesting for me to see. But I think they have something there. I really do. I think for the first time, I'm actually excited for something that could give, like, say, Breaker, if he didn't have the title, a run for his money and actually be extremely physical. And I could see them
Someone
wanting to
who can
put,
take it.
yeah, and especially with the Saudi Arabia matches, things, like the Sands of Time kind of things and stuff. As much as it pains me to say it, I could see them doing an NXT match where Breaker and Sangha goes in and Sangha wins a belt, or something. They do something special and they put both of them together. It's going to be fun to see where he leads up. I think he'll end up in the main roster, but I think he'll end up on the SmackDown side of it eventually. But they have something there, and he could be not only a big superstar on the main roster eventually in about a year or two, but I think he can be an ambassador too.
Yeah, you always need ambassadors when you're a global company, which I think is a really good thing. Um, but the next match, we already went over Wagner and Sikoa. I don't want to go back to that because we.
No, but I want to go to the after part. I mean, you gotta, when they threw him into the trash, the first thing that
Oh yeah, that was
and
funny.
yeah, Roderick Stone, the
Robert
Stone
Stone.
brand. Yeah, when they threw him into the trash and stuff, my girlfriend's a little 8-year-old be like, "That's one big ball pit."
All right.
Yeah, it was like the one comment an 8-year-old could say, and you're just like, that is pretty cute and funny. They just basically threw him into a giant smelly ball pit for him.
Next match was a very awkward match between Lash Legend and Indy Hartwell. Lash Legend did something I thought was really cool, and then finished it off with something I thought was not cool. She did a modified stretch across the back that
Oh,
looked really cool, and then she started kind of trying to whip Indy's head on the in between the second and the top rope, but it was clear that she was whiffing and there was no force put into it, so it made the cool looking spot look awful.
it basically turned a positive into a negative.
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of trying to do too much to stand out, rein it back in a little bit, which is why they're here. You know,
It's trial and error. I mean, and Indy's the right person to
take
help
it.
people out. Yeah, not take
Um,
it, but just gear them up towards a certain point.
I think Indy's doing great in her role. I'm glad the I can't think of her name. I mean, I can think of her original name. I can't think of her name though. Um, the Kaylee Ray. What's her NXT name again? Kaylee Ray.
Kaylee Ray, Ember Fire,
Alba Fire.
Alba Fire, Ember Alba, same thing.
So Alba Fire, the former Kaylee Ray, it's the only way I'm gonna remember it. Came out after the match, attacked Indy Hartwell. I like that. I like that they're finally giving Indy something to do. She's been kind of in a flux since Dexter's random release.
And the way they tried to pivot off of it was so horrible, and now it's great to see her flourishing on her own, doing something.
Yeah, I'm happy she's starting to do something again. Hopefully, this leads to something. Of course, Indy Hartwell and Kaylee Ray can have a phenomenal match because they're two really good workers. The next, do you want to go over that QR teaser before I move on?
Did you save it? Because my phone's not near me right now.
My phone is
But
near me, but remember, you sent it
I
to
don't
my,
want
you
us to
sent
get
it to me, so I don't need to save it to look at it.
it. There was interesting few words. Toxic was on there. Becky was on there.
Quinn is in Zion Quinn.
Yeah,
Cruz is in Apollo Cruz. Trick is in Trick Williams. Brock is in Brock Lesnar. And Toxic is in Toxic Attraction.
and the thing is that there were a lot of C and O's highlighted and stuff. So, I mean, I think we're getting closer to a debut, obviously. But it's like coo. I can't think of anybody that they signed. I mean, I do want to put a note on there with all besides these QR codes that the Rock's daughter Simone did a promo at a house show too. So I mean, it's out there somewhere. If you guys check it out, let me know. I want to see it. But a
So
lot of
that's
C's and O's.
our boy Brady, one of the news writers for Body Slam. Follow him on Twitter at @ThatTriangle_. Does great work. Blocked out every letter used in these QR codes. So the remaining letters O, P, A, D, F, G, H, J, L, Z, C, V, M. Those are the letters that have been used.
Yeah,
Everything
but what
else,
about the highlighted ones too?
those are
There's
the
like a lot.
highlighted letters. I misspoke.
Yeah, the ones I had. There's my phone. It's sitting in the corner. The ones I was saying is that somebody put Fanta. Randomness. Like the ones like I said, CC. The ones I got off the code for mine was CC and like a lot
I'm
of O's, like
sending you
C's and
a.
O's, C's and O's.
I'm sending you a the tweet now.
So I mean, oh,
Halloween Havoc is something somebody guessed in the.
like mine has on the
comments.
one I sent you has a full keyboard on it.
Yes, he blocked out letters that haven't been used.
Uh,
So.
it's just gibberish, really.
Oh
You
well.
you
I'm not going to rack my
wait.
brain on this because I'm busy enough as is. Next match: Tony D'Angelo and Channing Lorenzo stacks, and versus Malik Blade and Edris Onofre. I mentioned we'll get to somebody I thought I've known him for years because I was friends with him long before he started training. My boy Inyene, Edris Onofre is really good. And that's somebody, great look, great presence. He's only been in the business for about a year and a half, and he's already a really solid worker. He's only going to get better from here. I think they have a lot to work with Edris and Ofe, and I just wanted to put that out there. I'm gonna put that out there every time he's on the show.
Hey, you got the right to if you know him. I mean, hell, if I knew somebody of that caliber, I'd be like, hey, yo, go
Well,
check
I know
this
a
out.
lot of people of that caliber or bigger caliber, but he and I were in the same wrestling group when I was like 12, and then we just remained friends ever since. So
Still,
I don't know him
you
that well. I talk to him maybe once every 2 years. We'll message and exchange pleasantries, but he's a good dude from everything I've gathered, and I've been friends with him for 10 years. Um, he's awesome, and but he's actually really good. Like I'm not just saying that.
no, he's good in the ring, and it shows. It shows the passion of it too.
And him and Malik Blade have shown their personality a little bit. Not recently, but the stuff they had been doing with Toxic Attraction before that really highlighted that he does have a presence and he's comfortable in front of the camera. Um, this match was a fun little match. Tony D'Angelo and Stax picked up the win. The family stood tall. And then Wild and Cruz attacked Anofe and Blade. And then, what were your thoughts on that, if anything?
Nothing really. It was just something to fill the time right there. I mean, D'Angelo's stuck in a rut right now because of the fact that it's a game warfare kind of thing, but what other faction is there for them to fight? They already beat
Right.
the faction that they could beat. So now who else do you have for these
That's why I
four?
wish NXT wasn't on an island. Because, but who knows? That
It's the
was the
same thing
last
with the
match.
Toxic Attraction. It's the same thing with these guys.
Other than Perez and Rose, which we went into excruciating detail on in the beginning.
Don't get me started laughing for a while.
That's the last match. I do want to say that I love the vignettes they're doing, specifically with Pretty Deadly and then Briggs and Woods. One thing I loved for years, they don't really do it now about NXT UK, is that when Gallus wasn't on TV, they do vignettes that really showed off the character, like something out of 80s WWF or 80s NWA. Keep them fresh, and I thought that always added something to the characters. There's a lot you can do with characters that wrestling doesn't dive into. I like that Pretty Deadly kind of did something like that at the bar with Woods and Briggs tonight. Just keep them fresh. Do something different to advertise the upcoming title match next week. Of course, Chase, you also did something along the same lines tonight. Andre Chase sounding really smart until the script messes up, and then he just starts dropping F bombs is my favorite thing in wrestling right now.
I like the fact that they put the Chase U flag on the Buckingham Palace fence. I think it was interesting. He's like trying to like say, "Oh, I'm going to be knighted, Sir Chase," and I'm like, okay, now I'm glad that you guys sent the three of them over there. I know they're going to end up on NXT UK anyways at some point.
Yeah.
But it's just
I like
one of
that
those
they
things.
established that they went to Europe before they put him on NXT UK instead of Briggs and Woods randomly just showing up and winning the titles.
Yeah, Briggs and Jensen. Yeah, it's just I just think it's interesting that you're sending them three out there, and then they'll be on the NXT UK show. But if anything comes of it, can you just imagine like Andre Chase saying "Sir Chase," and then they did count out of the vignette of them doing the UK thing, and then him yelling at students and stuff. Like it didn't make any sense.
I think that's part of what makes it entertaining. Remaining thoughts, concerns, anything before we wrap this up?
Other than just the way things are setting up next week, it's interesting because now they have a new feud that they established, which had a funny start to it. You have a couple of title
Unintentionally
matches
funny,
next
we
week.
should.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have a couple of title matches next week. You have technically part of a number one contenders match for Breaker. It's just, if they're going to have something build, they're going to have to do a long build with certain things. And if knowing them, they'll rush stuff all the time because of certain things they need to do. I mean, they do have that kind of special show that's been floating around in August coming up that people are talking about. I think it should be interesting if you push all this stuff into that and make it like a huge deal. But I think at the end of it, with the whole Mandy Rose title thing, I think if that big show is supposed to be, I think a big name from the main roster is going to be the only person that will take that belt off of her.
Interesting. Where can we find you, Patrick? Throwback.
Hey, right now I'm just used to it. Every Tuesday
I've called
night.
you Patrick since day one. I don't know why.
Well, I've got called many names. So long as it's not a bad thing, I'll take it. You're gonna catch me here on Body Slam with, Jameis here, whatever angle it is, up, down, left, right, A, B. Me being a little minion.
Wow, you're old.
Oh, freaking thanks. Thank you for dating me, by the way. That made me feel better. Just every Thursday night, Wicked Crazy Pinfalls, go on there, subscribe, youtube.com/throwback27. And then on Twitch is, twitch.tv throwback978. Go check out Body Slam. We're here every Tuesday night rocking it out. Go read his stuff and everything he does. Everything he has been amazing at. Of course, to quote him, he's always right. So,
right. I would pitch the podcast. I got a lot of wonderful feedback, but I don't know if it's back up yet. It got copyright claimed. Woke up today, I'm like, oh, shit.
But other than that, I mean, Ring of Honor is going to be fun. If you got it on the Twitter feed right there, it says the handle right there. Go follow that. Why don't you? You'll see
I'm
live.
also going to throw up on the bottom of the screen, since you mentioned Ring of Honor. And I have it right next to me. I'm going to throw up the ticker for Ring of Honor folks. We have a really good Ring of Honor team. So.
And the thing about it is that I asked this question, and I'll ask you this before we go off air. Do you think, with the history Ring of Honor has with Lowell, since we're open discussion for a couple of minutes, that Ring of Honor should have a home base, one of their main home bases in Lowell? Because they could go to bigger venues, but why would you come
Massachusetts? Like, if it wasn't Lowell, it was always Cambridge. Speaking of Cambridge, you want to hear a funny story?
I got time.
So I landed a big podcasting guest spot for this week. I'm very excited for it. I don't know when I'm announcing it, but I'm very excited for it. I'll tell you what it is after the show. So I needed access. We were going to do one of two shows: SummerSlam '91 or ROH Night of the Grudges 2003, which took place
in Cambridge,
Cambridge, Massachusetts. So after I pitched the Night of the Grudges, I was like, I looked just to see if I could find it online, because I know certain matches. London AJ, I know that match like the back of my hand. I'm a big Paul London mark. Of course I know that match on the back of my hand. So and then I looked on Honor Club. Only 3 of the matches are on Honor Club. So I'm like, I need access to this. And now I have no access to the whole show. I've never seen the whole show. So I I called Kerry Silken, the former owner of Ring of Honor. And I'm like, hey, I've got a weird question. And he's like, sure, what's up? And I'm like, you wouldn't happen to have the original copy of Night of the Grudges 2003.
He did.
He overnighted it to me.
Yeah. That's why you got good people. But the reason I'm saying this is just that it would make an awesome thing, because with the connection with AEW and stuff, it'd be something where you could have one of the main, like you could have this show every year here in Lowell, and then you could, if you wanted to move it up into Boston, you can, and do something bigger with AEW. You can have the Ring of Honor talent drive literally 30 minutes away when you need them after the pay-per-view, and go straight to the AEW show in Boston or up in Worcester, like they're doing the next weekend on a Wednesday, stuff like that. So, I mean, I would love to have Ring of Honor here on a yearly basis just to go to a show.
And of course, you can check out the Death Before Dishonor post show with me and a special guest. I gotta confirm it, but it's more or less confirmed. So I'll sit on who I'm hosting it with for
Hey,
later
if
night of
you
the show.
want, with the on the post show, I will pop in and I will tell you my points of view being there at ground floor.
Noted. It's past 11 now, so top of the hour, I'm going to wrap it up. Of course, as Patrick reiterated earlier, you can find him at Wicked Creative Pinfalls, at Throwback978 on Twitter. I completely forgot his Twitch, but oh well, he already
It's
plugged
the
it.
same handle as that, just with the Twitch.tv.
And then for me, editor at Body Slam, produce a lot of our podcasts. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe. We have a lot of subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of great content. Of course, Corey, our lead news writer, and I just did episode 1 of the Excellently Executed podcast. Got a lot of wonderful feedback and a copyright strike. So if you want to see us potentially get another one, where we air episode 2 next week on Elbow Drops, which promises to be a fantastic episode, be sure to give us a subscribe. We have a lot of great content creators. The Jabonis do great work. T and Tights, Dan and Andy do terrific work. I've already mentioned the Code of Honor folks. We earlier mentioned Bad Blood, BJ, Shane, Julian. Their weekly post shows do a terrific job. Our managing editor, Cass, my boss, and Tom from Tom Talks Rubbish do a great job on Wrestle Watch. Go give Tom some grief because he messed up what WrestleMania was Ric Flair's retirement the other day on Twitter. But we have a lot of great content on our YouTube channel. We have more coming, promises to be excellent. So be sure to check that out. Until next time, I am the Jameis. This is Throwback, who needs to remind you to do a good deed just because it's Tuesday night.
And pay it forward, because you never know. Life's too short, and next thing you know, also, I'm going to say this now, tell somebody you love them, because you never know. Today's a gift. Tomorrow is something precious, and the future's unknown. So if you have somebody you love and stuff, whether it's a kid, your girlfriend, or, her kids or something like that.
Patrick.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, tell somebody you love them or care about them, because, there's so much negativity in Twitter and the world and stuff nowadays. You got to find something positive.
Yes, sir. He's absolutely spot on. Have a wonderful